All right, guys. What I want to talk to you about is chemical equations. Okay. So if we have, for example, 2H2 plus O2, these are what we call reactants. The word that we see here is react. These two substances are going to react together chemically. Okay, they're going to go through a chemical reaction and they are going to yield, which is another word for make or create or produce. They're going to create new products. Okay, remember, in a chemical reaction, new products or new substances are always formed once substances react. Okay, so in this example, it's going to create 2H2O. Okay, substances combine or chemically react to yield or make new products. New products are always going to be made during a chemical reaction. So what we want to do, we have just learned about the law of conservation of mass, which says basically what you start with, you end with. Matter cannot be created nor destroyed. So what that means is if in a chemical reaction we start off with hydrogen, we better end up with hydrogen. If we have oxygen, we better end up with oxygen. We can't create new matter, so we're not going to find carbon or boron or neon or anything else in here because we don't have it in the beginning. Okay? You're also not going to take away anything. So if I look over here, I'm not going to have just hydrogen or just, I better find the same elements in the end as I have in the beginning. Not only that, but remember, we've practiced counting atoms. So these little subscript tells us atoms. I better have the same number of atoms as well. That's what the law of conservation of mass says. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to identify our elements. We're going to start on the reactant side, and we're going to work our way from left to right. So if I look this way, I see a capital H, which is hydrogen, and I'm going to write it down here in the middle, and I'm going to put an equal sign on both sides. I also have oxygen. Okay, so I'm going to put an O. All right, and if I look, that's all I have. I have hydrogen and oxygen. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start on the reactant side, and I'm going to count my atoms. So I have a subscript of 2, so I have 2 hydrogens. All right, but then remember I have to multiply it by the coefficient. So I have a total of 4 atoms of hydrogen. Now, this is separated from this with a plus sign. Okay, so I don't combine these at all. I look here, I have 2 atoms of oxygen. The reason I did not multiply by the coefficient is because they're not together in a compound. They're separated by a plus sign, and there is no coefficient here. Okay, so in this equation, in the reactants, I have 4 atoms of hydrogen, 2 atoms of oxygen. So now I'm going to look at the product side. I have 2 atoms of hydrogen, but I multiply by the coefficient, and I get 4. Remember, if there is no subscript, it's a 1. 1 atom of oxygen, and I multiply by the coefficient. The reason I multiplied is because this is all together in a compound, and this one was separated. Okay, so back to the law of conservation of mass. Matter cannot be created nor destroyed. What I start with, I should end with. So I started with 4 atoms of hydrogen in the reactants, and I ended up with 4 atoms in the product. That's good. 2 atoms of oxygen in the reactants, 2 atoms of oxygen in the product. That is good. This is what we say is a balanced chemical equation. It supports the law of conservation of mass that says what you start with, you end with.